Hello and welcome to episode 82 of the PreparedX podcast. It's good to be with you today. What are we on? January 5th. So far, so good. Welcome to the new year and welcome back to the podcast. If you are a regular, we appreciate you. If you're a first timer listening to our podcast, then again, we appreciate you taking the time out in your day. Short one today. And we've got an interview coming up, hopefully in the next episode. But for today, it's just myself. I think with the holidays, people's schedules are obviously busy, taking time off, and then getting straight back into work after the new year. But we do have an interview coming up with the Chief Information Security Officer. And that hopefully again will be for the next episode 83. But for this one, it's just myself. And this episode is brought to you by the Principles of Operational Resilience, which is a new course from the International Crisis Management Conference. That course, the new course is... will cover the main elements required for a successful organizational framework for any organization in any industry to become more resilient to face future volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. So if you're interested in checking out that course, we'll leave some information here on the page. But if you go to crisisconferences.com, you look on the training section within the site there, you'll find all the information on that course. The first course will be delivered in February, the 17th and 18th. It's 2 afternoons. 3 hours each afternoon, and Paul Barker from the UK will be delivering that course. $595 is the cost of that course. If you are a pro member, you do get, I think, 20 or 25% off that cost. So if you're interested in checking out more details on that, go to crisisconferences.com and check out the training section, the Principles of Operational Resilience, a new course coming up later on in February. Okay, today's podcast, and I'm shooting a video as well at the same time here, so trying to kill two birds with one stone today. So hopefully we'll have the video out for you as well. It's all around virtual simulation exercises and our experience in delivering them last year. We have, I think, a couple scheduled. We're starting to schedule a couple now for Q1. But the ones that we did last year, we learned a lot from, as well as our customers, and they went actually really well. I was quite surprised how well they actually did go, and it certainly led to some of our customers realizing that that they need to do more, because they were really easy to facilitate, to organize, and some great lessons learned. So I'll start off with, saying, why do we still need to do these exercises? And I think for many of you, it's fairly obvious. For those of you that are on the fence with, why should we continue to do exercises, while we're in the middle of this pandemic? Well, as we've seen, and one example is the cyber event that took place, the attack on the government that took place over the holidays. It also impacted, I believe, over 50 major organizations. That's certainly something that I read over the holidays. So preparedness continues in different elements of your business. Obviously, cyber is not relevant to all organizations, although it should be certainly on the radar, but it's more prominent for some organizations over others. So you certainly should be looking at different types of scenarios, and not just be focused in on the pandemic, which has obviously been around now for, I believe, a year. Certainly it was uncovered by the World Health Organization. I saw a tweet yesterday, I think it was a year yesterday, when they first tweeted about an issue in Wuhan province over in China, and that tweet was retweeted again yesterday. So quite interesting. It's been a year. So anyway, so I think it's important to continue to prepare. And again, cyber is just one example of that. A couple of our customers work in high-risk environments, chemicals, oil and gas, and again, their need to prepare their leaders, the folks on the ground, the emergency responders, the need to interact with their stakeholders continues. We continue to produce their products and services, whatever they may do in their environments. So, for them, again, it's different. So your organization, each organization is different in terms of that. Let's take a look here at which platform to use initially. So we've used Zoom. I think we've used Teams as well, although we've used Zoom probably more than we have Teams with the exercises, and certainly with the training that we do. We use Zoom a lot, a lot of functionality there for the different types of trainings that we do, as well as presentations, and both can be used quite effectively. Teams has been used effectively as well for breakout groups, but certainly Zoom has that capability where during the exercise we can break those functional groups down or different teams down, so they can have their conversations regarding the impact to their environment, and then we come back as a larger group, and that's managed easily. As a facilitator, I would drop into different groups, different different teams, see how they're making out. Sometimes we'd have a facilitator. I think we did that for one exercise where we had a facilitator in each of the groups, and then they came back as a central group and had the larger discussion. So technology worked really easily and easy to set up, and it seems like everybody's used to that now. So no problems on the tech front. So that was good. And then the use of those breakout groups, as I mentioned, is really important. We do that in tabletop exercises, certainly in functional exercises. We use that as a tool to be able to get these smaller groups to really think about the details around the challenges that they're faced with. And so that's really important, because the devil is always in the detail as it relates to scenario planning. So again, that worked out really well, and you should continue to do that if you do your own tabletop exercises. The delivery of the scenario, again, in the different formats worked really well. We traditionally have had a PowerPoint deck with all the multimedia built into it, from the communication standpoint, and obviously the operational pieces as well. So adding a little bit of flair, if you will, but adding some images or some multimedia to bring a little bit of realism to the exercise. We've always done that very successfully, and it's no different. And it presents well through these different technologies. So that's not been a problem. One thing I will say, and that we've found to be useful as well, is as we're going through the scenario, and let's say we've got an inject period of, let's say it's the first hour of content, first hour of what's happening in the scenario. We've also then discussed that on the screen. We've separated the teams out, but then we've emailed it immediately to the teams. So not everyone has a scenario ahead of time. Those teams get presented the scenario, they go away, and as they're having the discussions, they get sent that piece of information as well. So as they go forward in the scenario, they can take a look back, and that saves you as the facilitator to go back through the deck. If somebody wants to look at something, they can look at that as an individual, wherever they may be. If they're at home, they can take a look back through the emails, and the emails come up each inject period. So it's very easy for them to check back to see what happened in the first hour of the scenario. So that's a little tactic that we've used, and we've used that for virtual exercises previously, and again, no different here. It's important that probably comes from someone internally to your team, so they recognize that email coming through. So that's the only one thing that we did notice, that we were requested in one case to manage that, which we can do, but sometimes our emails are not recognizable, or sometimes an individual will not accept or not open an email from someone they're not familiar with. Again, if it's someone from internal, then it certainly is more beneficial. Identifying issues is still the core part of running these exercises, so that doesn't change in your virtual exercises. And I think what we've seen is much more of a focus during virtual exercises, and that surprised me. It was one of the big lessons that I learned from this. Was again, our scenarios are designed specific to your environment, to the customer's environment, and that really focuses the team in on what they're supposed to be doing for that period of time. Um, and sometimes if we're in the office environment, we've had people step out to go to another meeting or to deal with something. Whereas here we're at home, we're in our office at home or wherever we're working from at home, or maybe in the office, but there's nobody else typically in the office. The office is less less busy than it normally is. But if we're at home, we're kind of focused in on that 1 hour or that 3 hours, whatever the session may be. And that's really I found to be one of the advantages of running these sessions, where again, we've got that period of time, we're focused in, and we know what we're going to be looking at for the next few hours, and that's a scenario that the team is going to be walking through. So focus has been a really interesting one. We've found that teams have benefited from that time in discussing those different issues, and that's worked out really well. Um, Taking breaks, if you've got a 3 to 4 hour session, you need a break in the middle. Shorter sessions, you probably don't need them. 90 minutes, 2 hours, we've gone without, excuse me, without having having a break. So that's quite interesting. Again, longer periods of time give people a break too. And if people are more comfortable, you can tell them at the beginning, look, if you need to take a break throughout, you can go and do that. But if you've got a team that really wants to get through the material, then try and keep them together as much as you possibly can. And then I think the final note really that I have here is with regards to your scenarios, and again, as you think through what you want to the team to be looking at, take a look back at what happened with your plans from 2020 and your responses to COVID. Take a look at an opportunity for increasing or improving your plans if you've not done that already. Probably has been a continual thing for many of you throughout the year. But then now is it time to take a look at different types of scenarios that may impact you, different risks that are on your radar, and then putting the team through those paces. I think we seem to be obviously in this routine now of managing COVID, and that's been certainly the case for the best part of 9 or 10 months for most organizations. So if you've not done anything in that 9 or 10 months, anything different in terms of scenario planning, then maybe it's time to take a look at some different challenges that you may be faced with this year. So if you've got any questions or you want to get in touch with regards to virtual exercises, then feel free to do so. You can email me at rob.burton@preparedx.com. You can find me on LinkedIn and some of the other social outlets where we produce and push content out. One product you may want to look at as well, if you don't need our full support in running exercises, we have a product known as First Look. This is essentially where one of our exercise design specialists puts the scenarios together for you, and then you deliver locally. And it's really an interesting deck that we send out. It has voiceover, so it guides you through essentially the scenario. You have your discussions as a team. You document the findings, and essentially you run a mini exercise, and they seem to be quite well accepted. Again, if budget's a challenge for you and you don't want the likes of myself or any of my colleagues supporting the exercise in person, via the conference, then you can certainly run it yourself with your own team using our First Look product. And if you're interested in First Look, take a look at preparedx.com, and we have all the information with regards to First Look on there. And again, if you've got any questions, just reach out to me. I'll be happy to answer any of those questions. Okay, well, that's it. Again, like I mentioned, a short one today for episode 82. We appreciate you listening in. If you can share this with your network, we'd appreciate that. Provide any feedback, we'd really appreciate that also. Thank you, and until episode 83, stay safe out there, and we look forward to seeing you soon. Take care.